So recently I was scrolling through social media and I came across a Dave Ramsey post. Now, if any of you guys don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he's a radio personality that also gives financial advice. Now, the biggest thing that Dave Ramsey preaches is that everybody should pay all of their debt, and that's the road to financial freedom. That the debt that people are carrying is absolutely killing them. And while I do believe that that statement does hold true for most individuals, I also believe that we've taken it too far. I mean, I was reading the comments and you've got people arguing that there's literally no such thing as good debt, that all debt is bad. And that's simply not true. So today I wanted to discuss with you guys the difference between good debt and bad debt so that we're all on the same page on how you should move forward when managing each. Now, before I get started, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for me. So first, let's address bad debt. What does that look like? We all know that most individuals are consumers, and that's honestly where most bad debt comes from. Now, currently, the total household debt for the US is over $17 trillion. But here's the numbers I want you guys to pay close attention to. The average revolving credit card balance is almost $6,000. And what about the average auto loan? That's currently sitting at above $22,000. And then lastly, the average personal loan debt is currently sitting at over $18,000. So if you add just those three items up, you're looking at nearly $47,000 in debt. But what did you guys buy? Well, for one, we know you bought a car. Now, would that be considered bad debt or good debt? Bad. Now, why is a car loan considered bad debt? Because even though a vehicle is considered an asset, it's a depreciating one, meaning the more you use it and the more time goes by, it becomes less valuable. So you're literally paying for yourself to lose money. Now, currently, the average cost of a brand new car in the US is over $40,000. Now, after you finish paying that off 5 or 6 years from now, you'd be lucky if that car holds 50 or 60% value of what you financed to begin with. Simply put, you were making payments just to lose $20,000 over a 5 to 6 year period. Now let's look at your credit card debt. What'd you purchase? New kicks, nice clothes, date night, maybe a vacation, all things that you couldn't afford to pay for outright to begin with. That's why you swiped the card. And considering the bank is charging you anywhere between 19 to 30% for using the card, that makes this bad debt that more egregious. And then if we look at your personal loan debt, most of those loans are actually used to pay off credit card debt just because you want to get the lower interest. So really, you just rolled the bad debt that you already accumulated to begin with. Remember this, anytime you use borrowed funds to purchase something right now, you're borrowing from your future self because you haven't made the money yet to purchase those items. So to crystallize this so that we're all on the same page, bad debt is anytime you use borrowed funds to pay for something that does not add any value to yourself and you cannot receive a positive return on your investment. Now let's get to good debt, which depending on who you're talking to, doesn't exist. Now the first example of good debt is an easy one. If you bought it correctly, purchasing a home as your primary residence. Now currently the average home price in the United States is sitting at almost $437,000. Now, considering most people don't have almost $500,000 just sitting around to make this buy, you most certainly will probably finance this purchase. And for most people, this will be the largest purchase they ever make in their lives. But what makes this good debt? Well, for starters, how about the fact that the average home appreciation rate is anywhere between 3 to 5%. On a $400,000 property, that's anywhere between $12,000 to $20,000 increase every single year. Add on this huge tax incentive that the IRS gives, which simply states if you've lived in your primary residence for more than 2 years and you sell the home for capital gains, you can exclude up to $250,000 of that gain if you're single and up to $500,000 if you're married. Quick story. Now, me and the wife purchased our primary residence back in 2019. Now, I wanted to make sure we made a bunch of money on the investment, so I didn't want to buy a brand new build because I knew the builders usually suck out most of the equity on those homes. So I bought a house that was a fixer-upper in an established neighborhood surrounded by good schools, but also one where expansion was happening around it. Now, we purchased the home for $235,000. I put about $40,000 of my own money in remodeling the home, redoing the kitchen and 3 bathrooms. Now, fast forward to 2023, my house would now sell between $480,000 to $500,000 based on the comparables in the neighborhood. So if I were to sell my house today, I would make over $200,000 in capital gains in just 4 years. Not to mention the fact that if I did sell it, I get to keep all of that money tax-free. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So if anybody ever tries to tell you there's no such thing as good debt, point to the numbers. I know I sure didn't use my $235,000 in cash to purchase this property. So that's the definition of good debt. Borrowing money to buy an asset that's worth more than the debt that you owe. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Let the numbers do the talking. And if you want to accumulate real wealth, then you need to accept this as a reality. Now, obviously, good debt also applies to business. Now, many of you know I have my own sneaker business. And when I originally started that business, I started with $1,700 in cash of my own money. Now, I flipped that money repeatedly, and after the first year, I had $17,000. Now, all of us can agree that that was a phenomenal return on my investment within the first year. However, I was always limited by the amount of product I could buy based on the amount of cash I had available to me at that moment. And so it wasn't until I discovered credit cards and utilizing other people's money where my business expanded tremendously. So that's how businesses operate, guys. They borrow money from the bank to buy more assets with the intent that those assets will produce more money than the debt that they owe. And in my case, every time I purchase a new product for my business, it's instantly worth more than what I just paid for it. Good debt. So if your goal is to become financially set and begin accumulating wealth, then not only do you need to understand the difference between bad debt and good debt, you also need to start making decisions that reflect the same. Don't borrow as much money to buy a brand new vehicle. Buy something used. Don't go out to eat if you can't afford it. Don't go shopping if you can't afford it. And instead, figure out a way how to use the borrowed money to start making extra money. Those are all sacrifices you'll need to make in order to achieve the outcome that you desire. Now, I believe in every last one of you guys, and I would love to hear on any progress you may have made since watching this channel. If you do have any progress to report, make sure you leave that in the comments section down below. Now, before you get out of here, make sure you also hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. If you have any questions or comments, you can also leave those down below, and I'll be sure to respond. I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys learned something today, and I'll see you next time.